everybody for coming out to Timothy Keller's intellectual group discussion tonight. I have a lot of interesting points for you all tonight that I would like to discuss. First, I'd like to pose a question to Wendy. Wendy, people who don't think non-Christians should go to hell also believe that a God of judgment can't exist. A God of judgment can't be a God of love. A loving God would not allow hell, period. And they have the complete wrong idea about God. How do you respond to this?
Well, I would respond to it in agreement because for me, I'm a non-Christian. I believe what you just said. I don't believe that's a wrong idea. Because Christians have this idea that when they see non-Christians, they perceive these non-Christians as unworthy and they unequal in dignity. Like their dignity is so below like Christians. And that's just so wrong compared to what they're teaching in church. In church they teach that there's a God of love and that they should be welcoming non-Christians and be loving to them. But then they go and say non-Christians are doomed for hell, like myself. But I believe I'm in the same equal stance in the world as a Christian is. I've not done much more wrong in my life as a Christian as the normal, and therefore I am doomed for hell. That gives Christians a very judgmental mindset, and that does not prove that God is loving at all. Like, a loving God would not send people to hell, non-Christians, and they should not be teaching, like, opposite of what they should not be doing opposite of what they're teaching.
I have something to add. I think that Christians oftentimes do judge, especially non-Christians, and they often say they're eternally lost or doomed for hell. But I don't have that view on any of the Christians myself, so that makes me less narrow-minded. I don't have a narrow mindset compared to them because they're so judging, so that gives them a very narrow mindset.
Very, very interesting. Thank you. I have another question to pose to you, Rebecca. Liberal, secular persons also believe that there are terrible moral and spiritual errors like exploitation and oppression. But since they don't believe in an afterlife, they don't think the consequences of wrongdoing go into eternity, essentially. Because Christians think wrongdoing has infinitely more long-term consequences than secular people do, does that mean they are somehow narrower?
Yes, I think that because Christians don't have certainty that their consequences will follow them into eternity, that gives them a narrow mindset. How can they be so sure about something that they don't have proof of? There's no evidence that those consequences will follow them, and that gives them a narrow mindset.
Okay, thank you for that. Zacharias, a question for you, sir. The communist Russian, Chinese, and Cambodian regimes of the 20th century rejected all organized religion and belief in God. A forerunner of all these was the French Revolution, which rejected traditional religion for human reason. Now, these societies, they were all rational and secular, but each produced massive violence against its own people without the influence of religion. Why is this?
I would argue that Orthodox religion leads as much to violence as would completely rejecting it. Religion poisons everything. It's like racism. Take, for example, religion-fueled violence in Belfast, Beirut, Bombay, Belgrade, Bethlehem, Baghdad. Religion takes racial and cultural differences and aggravates them. It's an enormous multiplier of tribal suspicion and hatred.
Yes, it is definitely true that lots of times religion will do this. Violence has been inspired as much by secularism as by moral absolutism. Societies that have rid themselves of all religion essentially have been just as oppressive as those steeped into it, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
So, any thoughts you have on this?
Me?
Yes.
I found out that 80% of people don't think, 80% of Americans don't think that they need a church or a synagogue to be holy, so therefore they think that the church is not needed at all.
Very, very interesting. Any comments on this? Well, folks, while it is definitely true that some religion most definitely sparks up violence, I think that the cultures that are completely immersed in a violent society with total exclusion of all religion is definitely more violent than a society that has at least some order of religion in it. I think that,
Of course, seeing that the communists and of course the Nazis, like Hitler, they did not like religion and they were very violent.
yes, very, very true. Does anybody have any thoughts before we close our discussion? Thank you. Thank you all for coming out. Thank you all for coming out. Thank you, everybody, for coming out to Timothy Keller's social gathering.
Take two.
That their consequences will follow them to eternity.
Go, go.
What's up?
I don't know what's happening here, but start my part.
Where's he? Wait, don't go. Yeah.
Can you scroll?
It's still recording. Alright.
Go, Liz.
Yes, consequences.
Okay.
Seriously,
No.
guys.
We need to
come
start
on.
all over because my feet were here.
No, it doesn't
No,
matter.
And then at the end of the cup, my feet were
It's fine.
here.
It'll be funny. No one
So-
will notice. It's
Just
fine.
No one will notice.
Yeah, no one will notice this.
1, 0.
Now, I have a question for Zachariah to pose. Zachariah.
We've been here for an hour and 20 minutes.
Alright, Liz, go. Start.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming out. Thank you all for coming out. Let us end in a word of prayer. Oh.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Oh.
Thank you for coming out, sir.
Okay.
The end.
You expect me to come back to shake your hand?
I've had enough of your sass. I really have.
Well, good.
Well, oh,